before I begin the session for today, let us do a quick recap of what we have done in the first session, second session, and third session, so that we can connect all the three sessions and then see how does it connect to our fourth session. All right. Um, so we talked about essentially compensation is impacted both by external factors and internal factors. All right. Now, having said that, the key external factors being globalization and technology, then you have social, demographic, and economic, and also statutory compliances, that is government regulations, etc. Having said that, then we said, hey, there is this equity principle of Adam Smith, based on which he said people are motivated huh, only if they see when there is the input is equal to output, right? Based on that, whenever, but then when they are not motivated, but how do I know I'm not motivated? Then they start comparing their output by input ratio to the comparator. I compare it with a person who is there within my organization, or maybe a person who is doing a similar role outside in the market, or amongst two people who are doing the same job. So we talked about internal equity, external equity, and we just mentioned about individual equity. Internal
Individual.
equity is all about my job worth in relation to the other jobs which
Other
exist in
job.
the organization. Okay. Because unless and until I am paid in relation to the other jobs in the organization uh, uh, of equal value, then I'm not happy. Okay. So if I'm demotivated, not happy, what happens? There's a disengaged workforce.
Disengagement.
If there's a disengaged workforce, what happens? Obviously, huh?
Resignations. People quit.
I will decrease my production, decrease my performance, and ultimately the impact is on cost. I'm paying certain percentage of wage cost, but then I'm not getting sufficient productivity or performance. So what happens to my profit margins? So out of 5,000 workforce, if 500 people, 400 people are disengaged because of there is no equity in the compensation. What happens? You take back a check every month. The wage cost is there. But what about the productivity? Am I getting equal amount of value for the wage cost? I'm not getting. So who suffers? The organization suffers. So therefore, it's very, very important that I ensure equity. Okay. Now, what is external equity? I'm comparing to the market and ensuring that how competitive I am. I may say, hey, I'm good as what I'm paying, but how will I know whether I'm paying more or less? If paying more, I'm at loss. And if I'm paying at less, also I'm at loss. Tell me how. If I'm paying less, will I be happy? Oh, I'm paying less, but I'm still at loss. How?
People will leave.
Because people will not be motivated and they will start. You'll not be able to retain anybody, right?
Right.
So therefore, it's very important that to ensure that there is competitiveness with the market. I also need to know what is my market position. Then the third one we talked about is what individual equity. So
Individual
today,
equity.
what we are actually looking at is, hey, if two people are working, then somebody is working much more harder in a hardship kind of a thing, or he is actually increasing his performance because he's a high performer. Then if I pay those two people the same amount, will the high performer be happy? No. After 2 months, he'll say, hey, why should I, you know, गधे, there's a Hindi proverb, गधे और घोड़ों को आप एक कर दोगे तो मैं, why should I do more? I'll also become the, why should I can also relax and get the same salary
Right.
month on month, right? So how are you going to motivate those people? So therefore, this the challenge of ensuring that I reward more for people who are performing. So that is called individual equity. So essentially, it translates to what? Variable pay. So we'll just do that. But then we'll also look at yeah. So what we are going to talk about all about why variable pay, what is it about, how will you design, etc. What are some of the kind of incentive schemes, etc. today. And also we're going to look at, I don't know how many of you are involved in this kind of exercise. We'll also look at what is it, how do you do your compensation budgeting, or what I call it as compensation reward planning. Now, at the end of the year, everybody has to do budgeting, because you have to actually have what annual increments, etc. So, how do you actually do the budgeting? Okay, so that's what we are going to cover today. And let me do in continuation with this recap. I also wanted to talk about the compensation structuring. So when we talked about pay structures, but I wanted to also add on a little more about the compensation structuring. When I talk about a pay structure, that is with regard to the number of grades, how many grades, what is the spread. Spread is nothing but the width of your grade, which is the difference between maximum and minimum. Then what is the difference of midpoint differential, that is from one grade midpoint to the other grade midpoint, what is the kind of midpoint differential you're having, etc. But when I talk about compensation structuring, essentially what does it talk about? It talk about, hey, your salary, what are some of the elements which comprise of the salary. Okay, so when we talk about salary, typically what are the various elements you can talk about? Fixed component, right? Which is your base salary. Agreed? Then you get certain amount of reimbursements. Then you get perks. If you recall, in our first session of elements of compensation, direct and indirect salary. So we talk about perks. Then we also talked about deferred payment and the retirement benefits. So all this comes as a package of salary. But why is it very critical to understand? Say, for example, Meghna has she's at a salary of say 1 lakh fixed guaranteed per salary per month, and I give her a 1 lakh guaranteed salary month on month. What will happen? What will be the impact if I give her 1 lakh salary? Every month I'm just giving her a check of 1 lakh. What will happen? Just think about it. Quick. Meghna, you are actually doing a lot of work. The taxman will take away 30% of your salary, ma. Huh? Because what you will get in hand is only minus 30%. No? Don't you think you are having a huge deduction of salary? So it's very important for a compensation specialist to understand, hey, what are those what is it, allowances, or
Impacts.
what I can make, so that I can have, because as per the income tax, there are certain deductions, if and certain kinds of components and elements, if you keep, they, what happens? They're exempt from
Exempted based on the
tax.
proofs that you submit towards the end. Or,
No, but there are certain things. So I'll just take a minute. So therefore, when you're structuring the salary, you have to also make it so friendly in such a way that the net salary is maximum.
yeah,
Not that you can't do it in such a way that the tax, you can't reduce it to zero tax. No,
right.
there will some amount of, at least you can reduce that tax. Okay, like for example, I'm sure all of you know that if I have to reduce and give I mean, at the end of the month, a salary which is of high value to Meghna, so I have to look at, hey, now can I structure the salary into what? First of all, you have to have a basic. Base salary is different, basic. Why
Basic.
basic is
Yeah.
important? Because all your statutory regulations are dependent on that. They're
Based
impact
on basic.
are impacted. Your retiles have been impacted, your PF is impacted, your gratuity. So, okay, fine, I have to reduce tax. Now I'll reduce my basic to such an extent. You can't reduce it to below minimum, right? So you need to know how much you can reduce it. Now, also you have to have a basic where, because again, HRA, which is tax exempted, is actually what, 40 to 50%, 50% in a
40 to
city and 40% in a non-metro, right?
non.
Again, if you want to optimize and take the deduction of that also, so there are, so those components. And in fact, Vilma has already sent it. I've seen all these tax exemptions, etc. Like today, standard tax exemption, how much is that? Earlier we used to have medical and also conveyance clubbed together, but today what is that standard tax exemption of medical and conveyance? How much is that amount?
50,000 if I'm right.
40.
40,000.
Yeah. Okay. Then you have child allowance. You can only take for 2 children, education allowance and hostel allowance, which is tax
200.
exempt.
200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is tax exempted. So, and then you have the LTA, which is
LTA.
again tax exempted. So when you
Yeah.
break up salary into all these components, yet there is a small amount which is still there. Where does that go? Where does that go? Quick.
Special
You don't have
allowance
money,
or
right,
post
guys?
allowance.
Special
Balancing figure.
allowance.
It's a balancing
Special
figure.
Is this special allowance?
Yeah, special allowance.
Correct.
But is that tax exempt or tax
Taxable.
deduct?
It is taxable.
Taxable. Correct. Oh, guys, you know where. So, in fact, I was doing an assignment for a multinational, and I was actually doing all this pay structure and compensation structuring, etc. Then this lady in the US was saying, "Hey, but we are not giving any special allowance, and why did you add special allowance?" I said, it is not special, as the word suggests, special allowance, but this is nothing but, you know, the guaranteed
Adjustment
cash
component.
which is given under a special allowance, saying that it is taxable. Okay, it is a person's own salary. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going quickly, guys. Okay, basic. I just discussed all this basic
Right.
HRA, conveyance, education, because we have a lot to go. So I'm just trying to. Otherwise, you just give me a raise your hand saying, "Hey, I want this repeated." Okay, fine.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm sure everybody knows this non-monetary and perks component bit where car, accommodation,
Yeah.
ESOPs, others, medical, telephone, etc. If you look at your sheet, then
Yes.
these are those provident statutory types, provident fund, gratuity. Superannuation is not, it is as per the company policy. All right. Pension fund, then of course medical insurance, health insurance, over and above anything the what is it, the company can give. ESA, of course, is statutory. So some of you, I'm sure, have worked on that. Like
Yeah.
Arjun, I know he's worked on it. And reimburse component. Um, Typically, why do you have these reimbursement components, and are they taxable? They are
No,
not
they are not
taxable. They are
taxable.
not taxable. The
Yeah.
company actually certain elements, it makes it reimbursable so that it can increase your cash component. Like for example,
Right.
internet allowance or a telephone allowance or a newspaper allowance. If you give a receipt for that expenditure, then they will be reimbursed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, today, because of the COVID, people are working remote and also at their home. So they are also getting that, some kind of allowance to take care of their, all those, for, to create their office kind of a furniture, everything, all that is required. So they get that as anything which benefits the employer.
Right.
And then, of course, you need to check minimum wages. You need to check about, some of the allowances which are impacting income tax. And then if there is a union, you also have to take into consideration what is the union agreement, etc. Then, very importantly, what I was wanting to ask here is, what is that? I wanted to check something. Check impact on the, uh, okay, not here. So when we are talking about structures,
Okay.
the components, the compensation structure actually has evolved. Let me tell you, 2 decades ago or 3 decades ago, I don't know if anybody, you all were born or there were a list of things. You could get reimbursements because the tax rules were very different, and everything you had, like, driver allowance, so even a gardener allowance, and a lot of things. Okay. But as it evolved, today it's all whatever you do, because it has to be easily administrable also. So therefore, if you notice, the compensation elements also have taken a huge transformation, and you will see that typically the evolved form is you have all the elements which take care of your exemption of tax, what is this, income tax, and then you have your
Right.
variable pay component and your retirable benefits. So a structure is very flexible. Earlier, you had a list of benefits and they said, take it or leave it, right?
Mm.
You're not married, but you would get the benefit of what? Crush. What will you do with it? Or something like that, Huh? Or you are a person who's a fitness person, but then you are given what? An allowance to do certifications, but it doesn't motivate you.
Yeah.
You have to just take it. So there was rigidity. But today, what is happening? You have a
There's a
flexibility. There's
flexibility.
something
Yeah.
called flexi basket.
Mm.
There's a flexi basket. At every level, a portion of it which is statutory, which is required, is taken away. And then you can actually choose from a list of benefits whatever you want. By doing that, what has happened? What is the impact it's creating on the employee?
It is
Improve.
motivating the employee
Yes.
and helping them design their own structure as well.
Yeah, but
You know,
but what
ensuring
happens
more tax,
ultimately?
more money comes in
I'm
hand.
finding value,
Value, right?
because you are getting what you want. For example, today at a lower level, I can buy a big car for a tenure, a guy who's getting retired at a senior level. He doesn't want a big car. He says, "Hey, I'm very happy with my small car." So you can choose to have your own perks and benefits the way you want within your limits at every level, which is called a cafeteria approach or a flexi approach. Okay. Yeah. So this is what it is. You can actually have a um, uh, flexi basket approach in terms of choosing the kind of benefits you want, and also in terms of choosing what kind of elements you want. In fact, at the beginning of your year, every organization, the finance department will say, "Hey, do you want to have any emoluments or anything, or an annuity plans or whatever you have, so that we can use that for your tax deduction purposes. You can't keep changing it every month. Then you'll have to follow with it for the whole year." Okay. Yeah, I think. Okay. So when we talk about individual equity, it's all about, I said, variable pay. Now, say for example, I don't, as an organization, I don't want to have a variable pay. Why should we have a variable pay? Why should organizations have a variable pay? Why can't we just have a fixed pay, guaranteed pay?
Motivate
In
them.
order to
Guys,
Differentiation.
I want you all to think on your feet. Why should we have?
Differentiation.
That's
Differentiation.
It gives an
Differentiation for
differentiation.
performance. For
Differentiation. Okay,
performance.
I
Yes.
quite agree with you. Differentiation. Most importantly, okay. Now, say for example, now, uh, you know, I am, as you said, I'm a person who's a high performer, and you are not giving me, that scope for earning more. Now,
yes.
people want to earn more. So, how do I then uh, get them to earn more? So, therefore, organizations actually have this variable pays so that they can motivate and ensure that employees can earn more. Typically, what happens? A guaranteed pay, you get month on month check, which is guaranteed. Even if you don't perform very well, till the time you are on board, you'll get that. Okay. But when you talk about a variable pay, it is not guaranteed. As the word suggests, what is it? It varies. Varies. You have to earn for it. So therefore, people who want to earn more will work harder. So when everybody in a workforce, in a organization, where we have 500 people, if everybody is working harder and harder, effort, they're putting in more effort. So therefore, higher performance, then what happens to productivity? You're increasing your productivity. At the same time, you have to pay some amount. But you don't produce, unlike guaranteed pay, you don't have to pay them. But here, if a person does not produce also, guaranteed pay is something you have to pay month on and month on. But here, in a variable pay, for the employer, there is not much of a risk. It's not something it is recurring that I have to pay every month. Got it? You earn more and you also pay. So therefore, most of the organizations, in fact, if you look at the history of variable pay, say about 30 40 years ago, variable pay was only given to senior management, if you think of, if you look at it. But today, if you look at salary surveys, every organization right from the lowest level has some component of variable pay. Why? Because of the market conditions. 50 years ago, 30 years ago, the market condition, what? It was not at all competitive, right? Most of it was monopoly. What you produce, you sold. But today there is so much of high competition. So because of the high competition, yeah, you need to be very, very efficient, and you also need to be very cost competitive, quality conscious, customer delight, all these things. So how will you make your person motivated, right? You can't afford to say, like, I'm going to only make this at this cost. Take it or leave it. You can't, you're not in that kind of a environment anymore. All right. So therefore, now when we talk about variable pay, in the first session, we talked about hardship, right? That is people who are working under what? Hardship conditions, extra allowance, like for example, a night shift allowance, a rig allowance, etc. People who are actually living in high the cost of living areas. That's also a very variable pay, right? Like you see in public sectors, etc. When they are posted to metros or high cost of living, they get something called what? CCA, City Compensatory Allowance. Okay. Likewise, you get COLA. Or for that matter, if you are working for longer hours, more than required, you get overtime. Okay. So these are the various things we talked about in hardship allowance. We also talked about merit pay for extra skills, upskilling and cross-skilling. Today, again, skill-based pay is becoming very, very important. Okay, so I will go through that in much in detail. But essentially, let us talk about the pay for performance. That is what are we actually paying? How does this pay for performance? What are the kind of incentives we give for pay for performance? That is, how do we pay for performance? So what comes to your mind? Typically, when we talk about performance, we talk about what? Incentives, right? What is a classic example of this? What is a classic example of incentives?
Commission.
Absolutely, absolutely. A classic example of incentives is sales commission.
Sales incentives, yeah.
Sales commission. So here, this is at an individual level, right? It's an individual level. So what happens here? That there's a predetermined
Targets.
what? Goal, or can I say target?
Yes.
So he knows predetermined target. Also predetermined amount.
Yeah.
Right? That is, say for example, in an automobile industry. I know if I sell a Toyota, I will get this much commission. If I sell a Maruti, I will get this much commission. So it is predetermined targets also and predetermined amounts as well. So what happens? This guy is motivated that, hey, if I'm going to make, I can make this much if I will sell this much target. Okay. So he is able to estimate. So there is, depending now, the output or whatever he does, his performance is, that is, his variable pay is dependent on what? His performance, right? So he is able to at least gauge how much he will get based on his performance. Okay. Now, even in a non-sales, you can have incentives. Say, for example, in a non-sales, typically for a recruiter, can you have some kind of an incentive for making his what? How many positions he closes, right?
Within a period.
Number of
Within
positions are
within the defined tag.
within the. Now I'll say you have to close 20 positions. The recruiter will close off 20 positions. But if I don't qualify, these positions have to be at what cost, what quality, then what will happen and what time?
Time.
No, I'm sorry. Within what time? Then what happens? I might get quality which after 3 months, 50% of them are actually what? Are non-performing candidates, right? So therefore, whenever I'm actually devising an incentive plan, I also need to qualify the, what it means, the criteria.
Criteria.
No, if I don't qualify the criteria, the predetermined goals, targets, and the amount you can get. Okay. So when we are talking about incentives, can we talk that we can actually have at an individual level? Right? Now, incentives also can be had at a team level. We talked about it, right? And
Yes.
can also be at a organization level. So typically at a team level, you can have team incentives. Say, for example, the other day I was talking about, what is that? Gain sharing. I hope you remember. Again, gain sharing, what did I say? That again, based on the productivity results of any location of a group, then what happens? You are setting predetermined targets and then criteria depending on, it could be a financial objective, it could be even operational objectives, etc. There's a criteria set, and depending on that, then the kind of output, then whatever is over and above the productivity set for it, the target, then the gains are shared. At an organization level, what are you doing? You are talking about a profit sharing. Okay. So let me quickly just take you through those things where we already, so that you can, yeah. Okay. So can you see this at an individual level? We are talking about what? Piece rate, standard hours. So when we are looking at an individual, either you can look at what? Time, or you can look at per unit output. Say, for example, sometimes you can also improvise at an individual level, saying number of works. So over and above, you have worked the number of hours, you get some kind of a incentive. Now, sales commission, we've talked about performance bonus. So what is performance bonus? Say, for example, in a support function, in a finance function, at the end of the year, you have performed a rating scale of 1 to 5. Depending on your rating, you get some amount of performance bonus.
Performance.
I'm sure everybody is familiar with the performance bonus, whatever you get, right? Now, when we are talking about incentives here at an individual level, there are also other kinds of incentives which you get, something called what? Bonus. When we talk about bonus, how does it differ from this incentive? How does bonus differ from incentive?
That is a statutory requirement linked to a particular gross, I think 21,000
Yeah, so that is of course there.
bonus act.
But then
Yeah.
when I'm talking about a bonus, it is also predetermined.
Guaranteed. It is
Predetermined. Yeah.
guaranteed.
Okay,
Whether you perform or
predetermined.
not, it is given.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is the statutory bonus which you have to give, right? You're
Yes.
talking about the statutory bonus. Now, what I'm talking about is when you're talking about, let me just write bonus. So when you're talking about bonus, this is also predetermined objectives or goals. But here, unlike the individual incentive or the gain sharing, etc., where there is a possibility, you know the range, there is a possibility
Yeah.
of earning some percentage. Here, you either get the full amount
Or you don't get.
or full amount, or you don't get anything. For
Okay.
example, a sign-on bonus for joining. Sign-on bonus. Have you heard of joining bonus? I can
Yes.
call it as a joining bonus,
Bonus.
right? B1 US. Okay. Now, sorry. So when I talk about bonus, I'll say, hey, um, here's, I won't say, oh, Manish has to get this. He's almost joining. So I'll give him 90% of the bonus. You think you will get that?
No.
You have been, given an offer of signing bonus for joining one organization, but you are will that new organization give you that bonus because they will say no, he's almost about to join, so let me give only 90% of the bonus. They won't give you. If you
No.
join, they'll give you 100%, or else no. Retention bonus. If you stay for that period of retention, they will give you the entire bonus. Otherwise,
Okay.
they will not give you the bonus. Or any other bonus can you think of? Project bonus, what is it? That there's a very critical project, and
Project
you have to complete
incentives.
it on time and quality, etc. So you get a bonus once you have completed that as per the objectives. Either you get it or you don't get it. It is not that, oh, you did 90% of the project, no problem. We'll give you 90% of bonus. Will you get it? No. But then project bonus, does it mean that you will get for all projects? You will
Particularly for
decide
that
which
project.
project. Otherwise, it will become like an entitlement. Okay, fine. I'm doing a small project. I must get a bonus. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, guys, so when we are talking about incentives, we looked at an individual level. We also looked at team level. I talked about gain sharing, etc. And then at an organization level, we are talking about profit sharing, ESOPs. In fact, ESOPs is almost like a long-term incentive or a what is it? Medium term incentive, because what happens, there is some amount of vesting period. You can't catch them immediately, right? You will be offered stocks, but doesn't mean that I'll go and then exchange them for higher money the next day. So there is some amount of vesting period. Other than that, just to give you a broad picture, there are also recognitions. It's not necessary that I should all the time give incentives, bonus. Then every time a person will move his hand, he will say, I want an incentive. No, I'll do this, I want an incentive. So there are also, for building a good culture, there are also very good recognitions, awards, spot on bonuses. What are some of the things which your organization does? Anything? Quick.
What awards are there? We have behavioral awards, performance awards, which
Spot
are
award,
again
spot.
team awards.
The spot award could be, they may be not much in cash. They could be just a voucher or a ticket or a meal,
Yeah, white goods kind of, yeah,
or
or
some
kind.
merchandise. Appreciating. Even a small thank you note is also a letter of appreciation. Why? To create a good culture of reward and recognition. Okay, let us go a little more deeper in terms of yeah. So you can see, let me just rub this, otherwise this is going to interfere. Yeah. So can you see piece rates? Is it an individual incentive? Incentive for performance, right? Huh?
Yes.
And what about standard hour plan? Individual incentive, people who work for more than those required standard hours, right? Merit pay also for performance, it's a individual. Performance bonus, individual. Sales commissions are individual. So look at them as what, when you are looking at individual incentives, the work has to be of consistent in nature. Okay. And it is typically based on your output. All right. But the person is able to do that provided the inputs are coming continuously. Like, for example, in a piece rate, we have to ensure that if he has to actually produce, then even his material, it has to be consistent of the required quality. And I don't give that required quality. Many a times, what happens, we are designing in incentive plans, etc., based on what he has to do. But are we also providing the inputs? Very important, no? Unless and until I actually provide the inputs. Say, for example, for a piece rate, if I'm going to actually say, hey, there's a lot of reworking, not up to the quality, but you're not giving the right kind of raw materials, then what will happen? Obviously, it will have an impact on the, impact on the output. Okay.
Okay.
Like, for example, perform merit pays and etc. The person has not performed well. You have not actually taken into consideration the gaps in terms of resources or the gaps in terms of his training, his upskilling, etc. Okay. Yeah. So those are also important. Then we talked about gain sharing, team awards, etc. So here I told you gain sharing is typically what it is, you know, um, it is an operational. It is not at the end of the year like a profit sharing. It is more with regard to the productivity indexes. So in order to ensure that at a location or even at a unit, they're able to produce better as because this work involves what collaboration, teamwork, etc. Now I'm just asking you a very classic question. You have designed an incentive plan at an individual level, but the to produce that output, the employee is not in control of all the points from A to Z. If you have, when you are designing an incentive plan at an individual level, you need to have everything in control, right? For example, if you are not in control of all the processes or everything in control to produce that output, then if there is a dependency factor, then would you be able to then, will the employee be able to produce? Are you getting me what I'm trying to say? So you have to ensure, like for example, a recruiter. If I say this is an individual incentive plan for you, if you close, that means you should be able to then have control of what, looking at the various what sourcing channels, getting the resumes, everything within the control. Are you with me? Huh? But when I'm talking about gain sharing, what is the objective? Because the work has interdependency. Are you with me? There is interdependency because I want to encourage or I want to increase the productivity of this location, productivity of this unit, or I want the completion of this project. So there is an interdependency of a lot of people. So to have a collaborative teamwork, etc., to increase the productivity, I'm saying, hey, you share the gains. Are you with me now? So this is what is called gain sharing. Now, when we are talking about profit sharing, at the end of the year, I made certain profits. So what I will do as a percentage, I'll say this is the amount and I will distribute it across all the levels. This year I've done very well. So I may get good amount of profit sharing. Next year, I've not done well. So I may get very little. And another year, if I have not at all done well, I may not get anything. It varies, right? Okay. So that is all about profit sharing. Now, what is important here is today, most of the organizations are looking at cross-selling and upskilling. I talked about skill-based pay. Why is it very, very important? Especially where is Venkat? He was talking about technologies. So you need to, because what happens is sometimes there is a temporary spurt in certain skills. No? Because when will be there a temporary spurt in certain skills? Quick, I told you about it. Why? You know what I'm trying to get? Temporary spurt means that some of the skills have become very hot. When does such a situation arise?
When some new technology comes in and there is a huge demand.
Yes, Venkat. I mean, if you are using that technology and suddenly there's a huge demand for it and the supply obviously is very less. So what will you do? You'll definitely give what? As you said, we keep paying based on those new technologies, right? Okay. But what happens is when it comes to technologies, the new technology, does it remain new for all the times to come, Venkat?
No.
Huh?
So when the
So
market,
technology keeps getting right. So what was new yesterday, today will become obsolete tomorrow because there's a constant uh, need for new technologies and because you want to improve your processes, your software, there's always looking at new features. So therefore what happens is, so today in organizations you are constantly looking at what is the kind of talent, a talent pipeline, what is the kind of skills we are requiring. You are building those skill sets by actually upskilling them. B, you are also paying by what I call it as skill-based pay. They might be horizontal, they could also be vertical. When I say horizontal, because especially in IT, when you're working from, one technology to another technology, etc., then there is a huge demand for these skills. So you have no way out but to pay for those new skills. So you are giving, you won't go by, hey, no, I've done an evaluation and I have to only give you this much. No, you'll be paying based on those. So there is, in terms of horizontal skills, vertical skills, and the depth of skills. Okay. Yeah. All right. When we're also talking about variable pay plans, we're also talking about short-term incentives, mid-term incentives, and long-term incentives. So we just spoke about some examples of short-term incentives. Anybody quickly, can you tell me what kind of short-term incentives you can think of? 8 of them. So can we have a small group activity of just 10 minutes where they can actually get into two groups? All right. Now, guys, I want you to since take two organizations from your group, not any organizations. Since you'll be 4 in a group, take two organizations and just list out at an individual level what kind of incentives are you giving or what kind of bonuses. At a team level, what are you giving? At a organization level, what are you giving? Or and then as a part of the reward and recognition, what are you giving? Okay, use an Excel sheet and just go by this individual level, team level, or the unit level, and organization level, and then recognition programs. Okay, and anything unique about your organization in terms of variable pay. Okay, guys, and then look at them even in this format: short-term incentives, mid-term incentives, and long-term incentives. Okay. In fact, we have two groups. So, guys, quickly, which group wants to first share their presentation?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
I'm sharing my screen.
All right, great.
So we did for 3 companies: Veolia, which is Manish's company; US Pharmacopoeia, and then Log9.
Okay.
For some, I mean, we managed to go through our rewards and recognition programs and kind of try to split it like this, saying what is the short term, which is 1 year or lesser. And so we've tried to put a matrix table so that it helps us to identify different types of incentives.
Right.
So
All of us are from completely different industries and setup, but no matter how much brainstorming we did, we were not able to put together like an organizational level incentives across all these 3.
Okay. So let us look at Veolia first. Veolia.
Yeah.
So, Viola ma'am, I think this is pretty much explanatory, self-explanatory.
Yeah,
In
you can.
short term, 1 year or less, on an individual level, we have discretionary spot bonuses wherein we give a certain amount based on the discussion. We have an R&R framework called awesome points. It is so a number of awesome points can be designated to any employee who have worked on some special project. It might be the project duration may be from say
Okay.
1 month to 6 months.
Okay.
And
Okay. So I will just make a small qualification here, saying that this is a discretionary spot bonus. Okay. So it will come under reward and recognition programs. Okay. It will not come as an incentive. They will definitely be there as variable pays, but they will come under the category called reward and recognition programs. Got it? Okay.
reward.
Yeah.
It is part of R&R framework. So going for the midterm, basically it's the employees in grade 6 and above, they have a variable component in their salary. So the variable ranges in the range of 10%, 15, 20% of their annual fixed. And
Okay.
out of this variable, 50% is defined by the company performance, and the rest 50% is defined by the individual performance.
Individual performance. Okay, fine.
In long term, more than 3 years or so, we have a Veolia share scheme, which is a discounted share scheme, which there are
Okay.
two. One is that up to 300 euro, the employer contributes if you invest into the share, and also the shares that you get are at discounted, say 15 or 20% from the current market price. So there are two kind of that the employee gets, but it is different from ESOPs because the vesting period there's no vesting period, there's a maturity period. From the date of investing, there's a 5 years of maturity period.
Okay. Okay. So
The
there's the 5 years period of maturity. Okay. Done.
long-term wealth creation of the employees, and also to employees to get benefit from the growing revenue of the company in long term. That is the idea.
Also, it is more like a retention plan, guys. That guy won't go then.
No, actually, it does not affect retention, because anyone can leave during the 5 years, and
Okay.
there is a clause of exit that at the time of exit from the company, you get whatever value of the Veolia
At
shares
that
are.
current, so he may not be able to reap fully those,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, in
Okay.
long term, you will get more benefit, but
Much
there's
more
no
benefit. Right.
in between.
The accruals will be fewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. At an organization level, do you have something like a profit sharing, etc.?
No, nothing defined
Nothing.
as such.
Okay. Okay. Nothing is defined. Okay. Excellent. Good. Can we look
There's
at US? Yeah.
something project based. There are certain projects, since we are in EPC projects, so there are an incentive defined prior or at the inception of the project itself, that if we complete the project in say 2 to 3 years time, whatever the timeline is, with the defined parameters of EHS, health and safety, etc., then a certain award will go to the project manager and the defined number of people. So I have put it under the second box, that is
Okay. Okay. All
closer.
right.
It's not an
No, so you have a project bonus for some projects.
Yes.
So the entire team has a project, and the criteria would be completing on time,
completing on time.
and milestones maybe,
Parameters,
right?
yeah. Parameters.
Okay. And with the criteria of quality, cost, or whatever the resources are, operational goals or financial goals. Okay. All right. Great. So let us go to US pharmacopoeia.
Yeah. Hi, Nimla. So, if we are a not-for-profit organization, so we don't have any long-term plans whatsoever. All we have is a variable pay, where every annually we get an amount, a percentage, of which 50% is based on employee performance, 50% on organization performance. Apart from that, we do have joining bonuses in order to entice people to join our organization, as well as a retention bonus, which is dependent on certain projects which come. So we don't want scientists to leave during the project. So typically these retention bonuses will be a huger amount, typically 10% of the of the CTC, but to be given on yearly basis. This is over and above the annual variable pay for everyone. So these are the two basic things what we have. Three basic things. That's all.
Okay. So you have bonuses especially for your scientists, right? Not for
Yes.
everybody. Retention
Yes.
bonuses.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Scientists
Good.
or certain teams.
Okay.
All right.
And also joining bonuses for them.
Joining bonuses, it is for to entice people only.
Some
Entice
critical
people to come.
positions.
Yes, only critical
Yeah.
roles, especially where we want to get people coming from the US, typically with doctoral degrees from top health universities like John P. Hopkins and Michigan and all. So in order for them not to join a profit-making company, pharmaceutical company, we want them to come to us. Then we offer them this.
Okay. Okay. Good. Very nice. Okay. Let's come to, is this log 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So most of our all these incentives are all focused on an individual level. So for short term, we have joining bonuses. We have for the sales team, we have an annual variable pay, which is paid out either every quarter or half a year, once every like 6 months. It is dependent on the negotiation with the particular, candidate. And then we also have a retention bonus, which is paid out at the end of first year. And after that, it is not there as part of their CTC. So I've mentioned it in for short term only and not in midterm or long term, because after the first year, it goes away from their CTC package. Right.
Okay.
And then for high performers only, which is like, for example, in your rating for people who have achieved above 4 or 5, only for them, there is a tuition reimbursement of 1 lakh rupees. So that is why I've put it
So
as
what is this tuition reimbursement? Do they have to learn certain skill?
certifications, any certifications that they want to
Anything?
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. For
So,
upskilling,
but
for anything. And it's only for high performers. Okay.
it's only for high performers. That is why I've put it as
Okay.
part of the incentive program.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm not sure about whether career development, because again, career development and succession planning, as of now, we don't do it for everyone. We do it only for the performers. So that's why I've put it as part of a midterm thing where there is actually a lot of hand holding done as to what they want to go to the next level.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And we also have scientists with us who are with the cell tech and battery tech space, and they get special bonuses if they cover if their patent is granted.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But I've put it under midterm because usually the time taken for them to actually research something, come up with a new process, then put it for patent is a little more than a year, and it takes anywhere between 9
Definitely
to
not. Yeah. Sometimes it can take 3 to 5 years as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but on an average, I've kept it as 1 to 3 years. So, and the amount also differs whether if it is just a patent application or whether the patent has actually been granted also. So even with that, the amount changes.
Okay.
But just to apply also, they get a bonus.
Yeah. So at every milestone, because there is a process there. So at
Correct.
every milestone, so that they can get motivated and keep working at it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have ESOPs. We have 25% which is vested every year. So it's around 4 years for total 100% vesting. So I've put it as long term under that ESOP.
Okay. Offer to everybody offer to everybody ESOPs?
ESOPs is not offered to everybody. ESOPs is offered for senior managers and above. Or if it is for the if in some cases it is offered for people below that also, but then they are your key talent, they are the one holding that entire project together, that sort of a thing, then they are provided for others as well.
Okay, so mainly used as a retention tool for your key unique positions.
Mainly used as a retention for that also, and for leadership as well, senior managers and
leadership.
above. Yeah.
All right, done. Okay.
But other than that, we don't have any team level, short term, midterm. There's no profit sharing, gain sharing sort of a thing. We're still a startup. We've not come to that level yet.
Okay, startup. So tell me, in your organization, since you're in the is there no work which is more interdependent? Because I'm seeing that you said mostly everything is at an individual level. There's nothing at a team level,
There is a lot of work which is interdependent, ma'am, but but they are not incentivized yet.
Okay.
Because
because typically,
most of these interdependencies, they are people dependent. They are not processes dependent. So when you take it away from people and make it process oriented, that is when we want to put like these incentives for team. Otherwise,
so that is why you have focused
key relations with others. Yeah.
Okay, so you're focused more on individual. That's right. Okay.
As of now, we are, because we are still in the stage of growing up and everything. But once we definitely have plans that once we move it away from an individual and make it focused on the process, at that time we want to have like team and team level incentives.
Team level. Okay, fine. All right. Great. So I think good job done, guys. Very good job done. You can actually give a good round of applause for yourself. Very good work. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can we have the other group? Very good work.
So, ma'am, I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. So we have taken 2 companies of Venkat and one more our. So see, to be honest, ma'am, currently in our organization we do not have any incentive scheme. So if you take my organization,
whose organization? Venkat's.
Programmers
Avinash. Both are
Okay.
So yes, Programmers IO. Can you please explain, Avinash?
Yes. So, ma'am, in a programmers in IT company, basically, we don't have such an right now any incentive plan on a group on an organizational basis. Everything is going to the individual basis. So there's a
Right.
variable plans, a variable pay that depends upon like in a quarterly and half yearly and annually in 3 terms. And all the 3 terms are just we have implemented to boost up the performance, to give the incentive on the quarterly basis, a half yearly basis, or you can say the annual basis.
And what
So
is the criteria for this?
criteria is that basically the quarterly basis we are just putting for those who are between um, you can say they are just joining the engineer training to the software engineers up to like 1 to 5 years experience, so that they will get the quarterly incentive on the basis of the performance, how they are given the deliverance. The same goes to like in an HR department or a sales department as well, where what the positions for the HR, what the positions has been assigned and how many they are giving going to give the deliverance in next first quarter, then the incentive will be given to them. But the incentive will not be deducted. If somewhere 25,000, 30,000 or 50,000 has been fixed for the like quarterly, they will get it.
They will
They-
get it?
Yeah, they will get it as a
Huh.
fixed. Either they will perform or not perform, but they will get it. But somewhere we are just pushing them to, you will not get the similar way if you're not going to give the good performance. But at
Abhilash,
least,
it is conflicting, no? I'm
yeah.
just saying from the academic, it's conflicting. You are saying, see, just understand this concept. All of you will be interested. See, first of all, I'm saying I'm giving you a guaranteed salary, right? Whether you are working up to speed or performing, but till the time you are on board and you are there with us, you are getting every month a check. Month on month, you are getting a check without any deductions. That's called your guaranteed salary. But now I want to ensure that this employee puts in more effort. So when he gets in poor effort, I want him to also, I want to see that in his output, the output in terms of his performance. So if there is an increase in performance, I'm saying, hey, I'm also giving you an incentive. Okay. So here you are saying we are giving quarterly, half yearly, etc. So certain um, fixed amount. It's not a percentage of your base salary or anything. Certain fixed amount you are giving. So is it based on just the rating of those projects, whatever they have done? Or you are saying, no, we have said that this is the amount, but they will get it irrespective of whatever rating they have got. Is that so?
No, exactly. I am just giving a more brief of it. Suppose that there is a sales department, the HR department, and the software engineers department. If the software engineers is directly aligned with the billing of the company, then if we are keeping, although like in a quarterly incentive for the like software engineers, that is in some other way we can say that they will get this incentive on the basis of the performance. We are just boosting them, they have to have work, but we are not going to deduct the any a simple rupee from their incentive after quarter for the software engineers. Because of that, until unless they are on the board in the focus of that, they are going to get the like another incentive in the next quarter, they will be in the company and the billing is not going to impact directly. That is the other
Okay.
motive behind this. And if we come
Okay.
for the like an HR department, a sales department, yes, sales always goes to the performance that will be pro rate basis we'll giving, right? There isn't a sales is completely aligned with the performance what the business they are just
Understood.
getting into the company.
Because
And the
it's
similar
more
goes to the HR.
target
Yeah,
oriented, whatever sales you have
yeah,
done, it will
yeah.
reflect there.
In a
Okay.
similar way, the HR, if the business is coming to sales, if the HR is not giving the deliverance in the right way, that is directly impacting the like business. So we are not getting. Why this is in another way goes to the software engineers, because unless they are on the board, the company is getting profit. If anyone just leave the company is going to impact next 3 months, because in next 3 months
Got it.
you have a probability to you will get the software engineers on board or not, as per like
Got it.
market
Got
condition.
it.
So that
Got
is in
it.
the same
Got it.
criteria.
Yeah.
It-
So in order to ensure that they are also retained, because they are the ones who are continuously working, and if you get a fresh person, then there is a huge gap in terms of understanding and then delivering. So therefore, you are also ensuring his retention. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
We can say the
Yeah,
retention, but somewhere you can say yes in the right way, because in the software engineers think of that. I do have some requirement, not depends on how I'm doing or not doing. But if in second incentive quarter, they have a mindset, yes, they are going to get the another 40,000, that will be applicable somewhere and very
So,
helpful.
okay, so that is going to motivate them to do better
Yeah,
work. Okay,
right.
okay, good. Okay, thank you. Okay,
And
so no
this is
midterm and
segregated in
long term.
3 terms.
Okay, so no midterm and long term.
Midterm, I just had a discussion with Komal and Venkat. Midterm, I just wanted to keep that we are giving to like in a half yearly basis, right? And the long term, we just wanted to keep the annual bonus we are giving to, annual incentive we are giving to anyone, and the recurring incentive on a billing we are going to giving.
So typically when you say short term, it is almost like, anything within that year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Anything which you get it in, that's called short term incentive. Midterm is typically, 1 to 3 years or 2 years. That's called a midterm. And anything beyond 3 to 5 years is called a long term incentives.
But here I
Which
just wanted
typically,
to, sorry, ma'am. Here
Hmm.
is wanted to put in, and basically this is happening in the mostly steel industry, manufacturing industry, automotive industries. But if we just
Right.
come to the like IT industry, there's a long term is very less chances. Most of the organization,
Absolutely. I
it
agree.
goes to
agree.
either TCS, it goes to like Infosys, it goes to 2-3 organizations only in India, not to everyone. So this
Absolutely,
organization is
because
very exceptional because they are good into like and give the benefit. Fringe benefit, basically, we are just saying.
True, absolutely.
So in
Because
IT industry, they are focusing on a financial year business plan. What they are going to do in a first financial, second financial, how they will forecast their business to grow up. So
absolutely, that
everything
is what
aligned
is
with that
important.
business. Yeah.
True. From industry to industry, what I mentioned about is the way you design your incentive plans or the way you design your combination of your components differ, because they have to be aligned with the requirement of your business. And an IT business has a different model, business, different strategy as in compared to a manufacturing organization. So therefore, it is imperative that you don't focus, because in IT, if you notice everything, immediate. You want to have the gains immediate. If you don't show them, you are not able to really retain them for a longer time. And in fact, even if you have a person for 3 to 4 years, also longevity awards they get, but not in other organizations. They will be there in 15 years, 20 years in a manufacturing organization. But today in IT, if a guy stays for 3 to 4 years, that itself is a long service award you will get. Right?
So here in a programs.io, would like to keep the recurring incentive on a billing that is goes to the long term. Why this term basically we are using for the contractual project. So if the programmers.io got the like in a project for the 3 years from the Wipro, and in a Wipro we are going to put any software senior software engineer or team lead, and if they are coming to join for the 3 years, the recruiters who will get them in with the company. So if I'm giving example for the $100 of $100 we are getting per hour, right? So the per hour for the software engineer, the 75 goes to the company, then 50 will goes to 15 or 20 will goes to some 75 to the like billing to the software engineer, then another 20 will goes to the company and admin cost, or 5% will goes to the recruiter. Right.
Absolutely.
So the $5 the recruiter will get every month till the employee with the programmers.io with the contract of the Wipro. Right.
True. Absolutely.
So every $5 in every hour means in 8 hours he is going to get like $40 in a day. So in a day, if the 40, then going to like 22 days, there's a big profit to the recruiters as well who is working on the global recruitment firm.
Yeah. In fact, there's this company whom I was working with in Baroda. I'm just forgetting that company. They were only into this kind of a recruitment where they would make, they were only into this kind of a staffing. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
And the other,
Okay.
we have taken example of Vedanta, where earlier
Yeah.
worked Electro Steel, now it's a Vedanta now. So I just kept the things like you can say the dividend, what exactly the manufacturing steeling company just sharing in the basis of 3 years or 5 years on the basis of their profit. If they are going to annual general meeting on every year on the basis of that, what they are getting, how the company stage is now, it's a profit or not, then they have finalized 1% or 2% will dividend will goes to the all employees. That is a long-term
Okay.
incentive to the all employees also. And but if
Okay.
they say that where uh, in a grade 4 to 5 grade where the company giving a facility, they can be part of 5 or 10% of their shares, right? So they can get the shares 5% until they are.
So,
So if there is a 5
okay.
lakh shares having with the like company, then a 5% is going to huge.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that is offered to whom? To mid-level people?
No, that is going to offer. I have kept it. I have just said only grade V, but grade 5, but it goes to grade 4 and 5 both, where the person GM and above. I have taken a VP,
Okay.
but
So
I
the
just
top
recorded
management.
top
Typically, it is
management.
the top
Top
management.
management,
All
yes.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. And what is this weekend allowance and attendance incentive?
That is a Venkat added here. So the
Okay.
incentive when we are giving to those who are coming daily to the company in a factory without having
Absolutely.
like any leave and coming on
Yes.
proper on time in a
Right.
quarter. So we
Right.
can just give a monthly
Yeah.
incentive,
Yeah.
attendance incentive or a quarterly
Absolutely.
incentive also.
True. Organizations have this attendance incentive for people who actually come regularly without absenteeism, etc. They do have this incentive. Good. And yeah, weekend allowance.
Weekend allowance why I added like that is actually I need to put in a like programmers.io. We are giving a weekend incentive, you can say. The software engineers or any recruiters or salesperson, we have like 5-day
Okay.
working days, but they are giving their time on a, like Saturday and Sunday also, that is called weekend.
Okay.
So what
Excellent.
they are just giving, they are just giving the output to the organization in 2 days. They are definitely goes to get the reward for the same. So the reward is definitely
Very
goes
good.
to the monetary
So there
term
is
only.
an effort during the weekend. So therefore, there is some kind of a reward for that. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay. Yes, of course. I'm actually at this point of time not getting into, I'm sure, because the challenge is, and I'm sure it is your measurement of that performance, measuring, the output also has to be seen so that, he may be coming, but so obviously I'm not getting into that, but the output must be there, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Great. Good job done, guys. I think all of you have really done, you have put your thinking hat and have done a great amount of work in terms of, what is really happening in your organization with regard to the variable pay and how people are getting motivated at different levels and are they engaged or are they disengaged, etc. That's a good job done. I think so. All of you have very well explained the kind of incentives you have, the short term or the mid term, and some of you have the long term incentives. Now, let us actually understand what are some of the steps when you have to design an incentive plan or a performance plan. Okay. The first and the foremost thing when you are designing an incentive plan is the intent. Just make a note. Intent. When I say intent, what is it? Intent. What is it?
Purpose of it.
Purpose. Very important, right? So in general, when we talk about intent or the purpose of a pay for performance plan, we need to understand, hey, what is that we really want out of this incentive plan? So typically, when you design an incentive plan, there could be two purposes. One from the functional aspect, the other from the HR aspect. So when we talk about the functional aspect, what could it be? It is more from the business, maybe to achieve revenues, or maybe to increase sales, or maybe to do some increasing of product mix. So it will be all related to the functional aspect. So when I talk about the HR front or the HR perspective, what do you think will be some of the intents? Anybody? When you are designing an incentive plan, A is from the business perspective, but from the HR perspective, what do you think it could be? Sometimes.
Pay for performance may be one, retention may be another.
Fantastic. Yeah. So one is fantastic. So from the yeah, one is from the functional perspective, and the other is from the HR front. So when we talk about HR front, essentially we're talking about maybe teamwork, maybe retention, right? Maybe collaboration, or maybe retaining people or the top performers, or increasing performance. So these are the various things. Motivating them, right? Ultimately motivating them so that they can actually then bring about an increase in the performance. Next, this is the first point. Okay. Essentially, this is the, yeah. Next, I'm only talking about the 4 important ones. 2. Then we talk about you're designing in a incentive plan. So, who are the people who are eligible? For whom is it? Right? It's important to know, no? For which people are we designing incentive plan? Is it for what? Managers? Is it for team members? Is it for top management? Is it for lower level people? So I need to understand my target group. Okay. I need to understand my target group. From whom is it? The next one is, having said that, what amount, all of you described certain percentage. What is the participation, or I would call it as, what is the kind of eligible percentage you want to have? What is the percentage of incentive pay? Is it 50%? Is it 25%? Is it 35% of your base salary? What is the percentage? And then will a person be eligible for this incentive pay if he is on loss of pay, or if he is on what? If a person is on maternity benefit, or if the person has put in the paper. So all this has to be very, very clearly documented, right? Otherwise, what happens? There will be, hey, so depending on that. Now next. Very important. Do you think performance criteria is very important? Sorry, why did I do that? Yeah. Is this important? Why do most of the excellent incentive plans fail? Because there is no objective way of measuring the performance. Ask some of the people, hey, are you happy about the incentive, what you got? I did much better, but how that they have not assessed it properly. No? The performance criteria. So whenever you design a plan, you have to ensure that how are you going to measure this performance? And in fact, you need to communicate this. What would be your criteria of performance? Like, for example, in a PEACE method, typically, what should be the criteria? What will I tell this person who will be there for this piece rate method for an individual incentive. What kind of a criteria I can have? Okay, closer home. Supposing I'll say recruiters incentive for closing positions. What kind of a criteria can I have? I'll say 20 positions. If you close, for every extra position, you will get 5,000 rupees. Then what will you do? What will Meghna do? She'll quickly close off 20 positions and then over and above, she'll get her reference. After 30 days, I will see that 10% of people have already, been sent home because they were absolutely unfit for the job. So what does it mean? I also need to have a performance criteria, and that performance criteria is not conveyed or communicated after the person has done the job. It has to be told before when you are designing the incentive plan. For example, for a recruiter, what will you do? You will actually talk about the quality of people I require. If I don't talk about the quality of people, will he then
Quality, time,
supply
and
quality of
cost.
people? Costs. I have to also talk about the cost. He may be getting the best people, but huge cost, right? And within the time requirement. So I need to spell out what are those KPIs, key performance indicators, right? Very, very important. So performance criteria, which has to be very objective. Okay. And then I would also say the fifth point, payout. Is this important? It's very important because based
Payout.
on the payout, the person, what is the purpose of a variable pay? To motivate. To motivate. Why? Because you want him to put in extra effort to increase the performance. Now, if there is a sales guy who has actually earned his commission, but you are going to pay him out at the end of the year, will he be motivated? So you need to ensure that when do I pay for whom, and at will I pay monthly? Will I pay quarterly? Will I pay half yearly? Right? Are you with me?
Yeah.
And then the last one is evaluation. Is it important? Whether it is working for you vis-a-vis the objectives you have set, right? So that you can make course corrections the next year. So every plan has to be evaluated at the end of the year, ensuring that, hey, do I need to make any course corrections? Now, guys, why I was far, because it's a very simple thing. So I want you all to now quickly get into two groups, which Vilma will make quickly. Okay. Now, here is a very interesting small work. Okay. That's why I gave this. Now, here is a retail store. Okay. So here is a retail store. All right. What are they making? They are making handsets. Now, they have 20 salespeople. There's a sales manager. The salespeople report into the sales manager. They also have an assistant manager warehouse. That means taking care of the inventory, etc. And they under him, you have an admin officer and an office boy who report into this guy. Got it? The assistant manager warehouse ensures that the product, the inventory is there whenever the customer wants, ensuring supply. Now, what are the challenges and what is it? You want to increase the market share from 12% to 15%. That means you want to increase the sales volume. You want to increase the revenue. Now, you also want to, how will you get that? You want to increase the footfall. That means people who are coming into the shop so that they can buy more handsets. There is lack of teamwork. So you want to increase the teamwork. And also there are certain top performers in the salespeople who need to be retained. You want to control the attrition of your top performers. At the moment, there is a lack of customer orientation, customer sensitivity. So you want to increase customer centricity. Okay. And also you want to improve the way, your people, your employees interact with the customers. All right. Now, this is what it is. You have already, um, I mean, I have already done some amount of calculation, but you may or you may not, for a variable pay. You have to design a variable pay plan. Now use all your innovative creativity, and all of you have really showed that when you were presenting your case. And the way I want it is, let me just, you have to use, I will give you a template, how you need to make that. We discussed 4 points, right? We discussed 4 points. Now, in a Excel sheet, you can also actually copy this small step 1. Right here, step 1. Okay. Now, can you see clearly? Yeah. Step
Yes.
1, intent. You can take a picture of this and then write from the functional aspect. What are my predetermined goals or objectives? Write them. Okay. For that small case study. And please put A, B, C. Like I've just put here. Increasing of sales, product mix, customer orientation, etc. From the HR perspective, I typically call it like MAR, motivation, attraction, and retention. Okay, right there. If you have written even D here, then this will become E, teamwork or retention, increasing engagement, etc. Whatever you want, think about it, discuss in your group. You will be split into 2 groups. So that is intent. Okay, this is the intent. Step 2, eligibility. Who are the people who are eligible? Step 2, what are you going to write? Salespeople. Who are there? Sales manager, then salespeople. Then in support, who all are there? Assistant manager, warehouse, office boy. You also have another guy, I think. Okay, 3 people. Now, what amount of base pay you want it to be? What percentage of base pay will be that incentive pay? You have to make a mention of it. Got it? What percentage? Now, I'm just giving you a lead. For an office boy, will you make a percentage or will you give him an extra 1,000 rupees, for putting down the shutter or staying back for a longer time, etc., etc. So how will you use that support staff? Because how will you plan for salespeople and also for the support staff? I'll leave it to you all. Step 3, very important, measurement criteria. Now, in measurement criteria, I again talked about it when I was talking about the incentive plans, saying that there is this predetermined goals and predetermined payouts. So if you do level 1, which is like A, B, C, D, E, less than 50%, then you get this much. Level 2, if you do A, B, C, certain percentage, I leave it to you what percentage, then you will get this much. If you do A, B, C, D, E, this much, then you'll get whatever. So do level 1, level 2, and or only do level 1 and level 2. Forget about level 3. Okay. Don't do level 3. Now, step 4, payment. When will you pay? Then please write here monthly, quarterly, half yearly, and annually. And right here, is it for sales manager, salespeople, etc. Now, monthly, will you pay for motivation or retention or attraction? So I want you to write that as well. When you are saying monthly, is it for motivation? Is it for attraction? Or is it for retention? Very clear? But here don't, because we don't have the time, only look at level 1 and level 2. These are the payout targets for the criteria mentioned. Okay? So guys, take a small, anybody can take a picture of this. You can then, so that it just helps. You have how much time? 15 minutes is good enough? Yeah, can you show me what one group is really done detailed work? I'm very happy about it. Yeah, can you? Who wants to show first? Komal?
So what we started doing is we divided it into, this is the overall intent, which is to increase the market share. So we made 3 functions, sales, HR, and support. And we listed out all the possible areas like inventory management, store management, retention, sales volume, product mix, etc. We are still in step 3 only, so we haven't yet gotten to the step 4 bit. So we'll start off with the first one, which is for the sales team. So we've split like how much is the base pay and how much is the variable pay. And that variable pay, we have also split it saying individual performance and team performance.
Great.
So for sales, just one second, let me shut the door. My kids are shouting. Yeah. So for salespersons, I'll start off with the salesperson first. For salesperson, we have kept 50% base and 50% variable, and that entire 50% variable which is their individual performance alone. For the sales manager, however, we've kept a slightly higher base percent and a slightly lower variable percent, because salary-wise, sales managers are higher. So the variable, if we had kept it at 50%, that would be a huge chunk of their income. So that's why we kept it 70% base and 30% variable. But that 30% is split, saying 25% will be their team performance and 5% is their individual performance. Because the sales manager is required to guide the team and ensure that the team also, everyone reaches their respective levels of the target set. Good. So now we have gone for individual salespersons and for manager different types. I'll start off with the salesperson first. Now, we've kept the structure fairly simple. It's like if you have to, the target is like, let's say 10,000 handsets a month. So if you achieve 0 to 60% of your target, then you get the base pay only. Right? If you do 60 to 80% of the target, then your base pay plus 50% of whatever is your variable pay, which is there as part of your CTC. 80 to 100%, you will 80 to less than 100% of the target, you will get base pay plus 90% of the variable pay. And we wanted to we wanted to incentivize people in, once they achieve 100% also, we wanted to incentivize them to sell more handsets. So what we've done is, if it is 100% and above, then base pay plus 105% of their target, plus every 5% extra for every 10% overachievement. Okay, right. So there is no limit to how much they can achieve in a month. And what we've also seen is salespeople tend to have this very the same concept of keeping the lead warm for next month, because they've already achieved the target for this month. So we wanted to break that and have this sort of a thing. For managers, what we've done is 0 to 60% individual target achieved is base pay only. What we have split the manager's incentive structure for, if 60 to 80% of all the sales people achieve their target and customer satisfaction is 3.0 plus, then manager gets base pay plus 50% of variable pay. If it is 80 to less than 100% of the people achieving their individual targets and customer satisfaction is 4.0 and plus, manager will get up to 90%. If everyone has achieved and the customer satisfaction is more than 4.0, then manager will get base pay plus 100% variable. There is no overachievement for managers here. Amongst these two criteria, if like the individual target and the customer satisfaction target, if only one is fulfilled, then whatever is as part of the variable pay, manager will get only 50% of it. Because he has achieved only one target and not both. All right. Okay. Then we move to the support function. So again, for office boy, we have not kept an incentive structure as such. Like there's no variable pay. We have given 100% base pay for the office boy. And then we've given additional incentives like attendance incentive every quarter if he has achieved more than 90% attendance in that quarter.
Okay, good.
And for admin officer also, it is 100% base pay and there are incentives. We've written down the incentives and I'll come to that. For assistant manager, it is 80% base pay plus 20% variable. That 20% is split on individual performance and the organizational performance.
Okay, all right.
For admin officer.
So whenever you put an organizational performance, you are trying to connect his performance saying that, hey, there is a dependency. If you reach, so he is going to collaborate. He's ensuring that the product is available whenever the customer is. So those are the things, that is why you will see in organizations that organizations performance, we keep a variable. Sometimes say, I have nothing to do with the organizational performance. Why should I have that? But to ensure that there is a line of sight, you typically have this organized performance variable pay as well. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So then what we did was for admin, like we just started listing how should we incentivize the support,
Okay.
warehouse people. So for example, what we are thinking is a quarterly payout. 1%, if there is less than 1% breakage, then the admin officer gets 10,000 rupees every quarter. If the lead ordering time is less than 15%, then there is a 20,000 budget, incentive. If the bill of materials is less than that, if there is a deviation from budget of less than 10%, right, then the incentive is 30,000 rupees, right?
Okay.
Similarly, for the assistant manager warehouse, we were looking at productivity as an incentivizing factor. So the productivity of the team should be above 90% for him to be eligible for a one-time quarterly payout of 30,000. And when we were listing the others, we ran out of time.
No. I think quite a lot of detailed work. Very good. And of course, payout based at the lowest level, you can do a monthly and quarterly for the other levels, and preferably a 6 months, half yearly for sales manager, and also for the assistant manager, depending on his level. So typically it is based on the levels that your variable payout is there. So at the lowest level, of course, you have to give them monthly, especially the salespeople, to get them motivated.
Yeah.
So you can actually give a pat on your back, guys, because of the possibility of time. So I wanted to, I would have given more time, but good job done. Very detailed work. So congratulations to all of you. Good work. Can we have
Thank you, ma'am.
Komal's work? Komal, Avinash, quickly.
We didn't do lot,
Guys,
but
we're
still
running
Komal
out
can
of
show.
time. Yeah, there's nothing. This is all in learning.
Yeah,
Very
fine.
important. That's why you have great, group activities. Yeah.
Okay, so for functional aspect, our intent was to increase in sales, customer satisfaction, and in HR, reduce attrition and teamwork. So for
So
sales,
they have actually taken only the salespeople. Okay. Yeah.
yes, only sales function, and sales manager, we have kept it 30%
Of the base pay as an
base pay.
yeah.
Yes, and other sales team, we have kept it as 40%.
Done. Okay.
And for sales manager, we want all these.
So there are those objectives. So at 1, 2, 3, if you have actually fulfilled all those, then you are giving them, if you have achieved, so not 30%, if you have achieved lesser than and greater than. So here you have to actually create those targets. Are you getting me, Avinash or Komal, or whoever is in this group? So
Yes,
you're
yes,
trying to create targets and saying, hey, if you have achieved this much, you will get this much of percentage of incentive. So you have to define those targets. Okay. Yeah. Next. When will you pay? Typically for salespeople,
Quarterly, we want to pay, not monthly.
You want to pay quarterly.
Yes.
So let me tell you, typically when you pay quarterly, yes, but for a salesperson, if you want to motivate him, you need to pay every month.
Okay.
Okay, because they're at a lower salary. But whereas for a sales manager, you can pay him, say, maybe half yearly also.
Because
Because
points
when
like attrition and all, it's bit difficult
Yeah.
to.
Komal, wait. Ma'am, actually, what this
Hmm.
level 2, we just want to understand and miss it to like fix it here.
You
So,
want to understand what is level
yeah,
1 and level 2? Huh?
yes.
Yeah. So in step 3, what we are talking about is the measurement criteria. How are you going to measure? How are you going to measure the performance? Got it? Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Having said that, now in an incentive plan, as discussed, you have to have predetermined goals. You have already done that these are the goals to be achieved. Now you have to put targets. If you have achieved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, huh? Up to a certain level, is it greater than 60% or greater than 70%? You will get some amount of incentive. If you have achieved not less than 60, but more than 70, in between that, you will get certain percent. So these levels are nothing but creating those target payouts.
Okay.
Are you with me?
So what we understood, actually, if we take it on a 4 all functions for the like sales manager in level 1, so if he just achieve in a quarterly basis or half yearly basis, and it's a reaching and falling in 100% achievement, then he'll get the like in 30%. But in a similar function, we can take into like level 2, if the person is giving outstanding work and is reaching a more than 120%, 150%, so he may be a pay more than, we can fix it here. He can get the like in a
So
base.
you're creating. So as
Yeah.
you rightly said, in level 2, if he is actually performing more than 120% of these objectives of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, then he's going to get this much. Okay. You are fixing a payout target. Why? Then as an employee, if I am going to perform, then I know exactly if I put in this effort, this is my reward. Are you with me?
Okay.
If I don't know how much I am getting, I'm not sufficiently motivated. So that is the driving principle behind an incentive plan. Saying what? That if you put this much of effort and increase this much of production, your reward will be this much. Your payout will be this much. So there's a range.
Yeah.
If you do this much, then you will get this much. Unlike a bonus, you either get full or you don't get anything.
So in level 1, what
me?
exactly we fixed? He will get the fixed like 70% base and 30% variable. In level 2, we can define
a call you are taking. No. So that is where in step 2 you are saying, hey, this is what is the step 2. You are saying these are the people who are eligible for this incentive plan, and this is the percentage. You can't put 100% in variable, no. So you are saying that your base pay is 60% and your variable pay is 40%. You are deciding on that. Are you with me?
yes.
So all the incentives are based on your variable pay, no? Not on your base pay. Base pay, you are getting full amount. You have to get that. But when you calculate a variable pay, typically it is a percentage of the base salary. Are you with me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what I will actually do is I will send you, give me a day or two, a very interesting detailed incentive plan so that you can understand. Okay.
Got it. And what is in step
So
4, ma'am?
Step 4 is the payout.
Payment. How to pay.
So when are you paying?
So for the
And why
salesperson,
are you
as you
paying?
said, we can keep it monthly.
Yeah. Why do you pay monthly? Because you want to motivate him. But if for a salesperson, if you are going to pay at the end of the year, will it motivate him?
No.
No. But certain amount, if you want, you can divide. I didn't tell you that. 90% you can pay and 10% as a retention. Or pay everything, but give 1 month extra bonus as for retention at the end of the year. If you want to retain a top performer. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, guys. So that was the design considerations for an incentive plan. But yes, having said that, I think for the first time, if you have designed an incentive plan, all of you have really done a good job. Okay. So don't feel the other group also should not feel bad that he I haven't done well. Huh? It's not a competition. Okay. It's a collaborative effort. It's a collaborative. So I want to drive this point. Typically, what happens? Where is this?
No, actually, what we
Yeah.
think of the doing good or doing somewhere lesser, it's a complete depends upon the understanding what we learned on instant basis. So
Exactly.
somewhere Komal also missed and Maninder also missed and I also missed. So we couldn't come up to like these all steps in very quick. So and once, as you said, like you will send, we'll go through again and
there's a
do it
learning
well.
curve always.
Yeah.
So not to worry. Okay. There's always a learning curve. And most importantly, the assignment will be actually to design an incentive plan. So why do you think you have such assignment? Because it reinforces your learning and concretizes the concept. Okay. All right, guys. So let's quickly go to the next. Yeah. The most important thing, compensation reward planning. What it is, it's called compensation budgeting. Say, for example, the CEO of your company comes and asks you, say, Avinash is the HR head, says, hey, Avinash, huh? What is your compensation budget for next year? How will you go about Avinash or anybody? It doesn't mean that I just want to ask Avinash. It could be anybody. Meghana, Komal, Mahendra. How will you go
This
about?
is all about the studies. Like if we want to keep on any particular positions budgeting for the next year, we go through the all the process what we did till now, and now we can say get the like data from the market, analyze it, and make a budget as accordingly as aligned with our company budget. Out of which how much percentage should be aligned for the particular position, or you can say departmental position, and we'll match with the like what the data we have of the market and what we have the budget and what the budget going to be allocated for the particular department. Then we can fix the budget.
Yeah, almost closer.
What
So
we
let
do
me give
is
you.
I already have the salary. I split wage costs into three different aspects. One is only salary cost, one is benefit cost, and one is miscellaneous cost. So the salary cost, which is your CTC, depending on the business plan, if they say that okay, I normally take a 8 to 10% rise on the salary cost, the current salary cost. That is only for salaries. Then I have the insurance cost, which is I know for this year is this much. My utilization of the insurance plans is this much, and I anticipate I will have a 20% increase on the premiums and all the costs, whatever I need to pay for the next year. So I budget another 20% markup over our current benefit cost. And miscellaneous also, I have a certain
previous data,
previous historical data. I will take a markup on that. And then I put a slight buffer of say 1 or 2% extra so that I can reward the higher performers majorly. And when I total all this, I will get a budget which I need to present and get it approved from finance. And next year, this will be what I am going to operate from.
Excellent. Okay. By and large. All right. Good. So you are saying that I will actually look at all my line items, right? Like wage costs and benefit costs and increment costs, annual increment costs, and all the other HR items.
Yeah.
And then based on what has happened, what is the incurred wage cost last year, keep adding it and then. Excellent. So here,
Ma'am, yes, Meghna here. So we also I mean, of course, more or less the plan is the same as Arjun spoke about. We also factor the positions in the sense whatever are the replacements which are to be considered, the new positions as per the project, the new positions, if they are required as per a particular quarter, the wage cost
Excellent.
prorated accordingly,
Yeah.
that has also been
Hmm.
factored.
True. Excellent. So let me give you a very interesting snapshot, maybe, in a systematic manner, how typically one does compensation budgeting. So there are two ways to go about it. One is, let me use the annotate. There is something called, there are two ways. So one is the ECR method. What is an ECR? ECR? I'm sure everybody knows. It's a very important metric. What is ECR? Employee cost to
Revenue.
revenue. So this is a metric typically the CEO is concerned about. He will ask you, hey, what is the employee cost to revenue? One of the key compensation metrics which the CEO is concerned. It gives you an insight of how is it calculated? Nothing. Wage cost, employee cost divided by revenue. Okay. And a percentage will give you if you multiply it by 100, you'll get a percentage. So if you want to do compensation budgeting, say for example, you are a startup, you are an IT company. Okay. I'm an IT company. Now, how will I go about what kind of a compensation budgeting I should do? What will be my basis? I can use this ECR metric, that is employee cost to revenue. So what will I do? Typically, I will look at 3 or 4 companies who I feel that they are the companies with whom I will be competing. Okay. So I'm an IT company. So I may look at what? Infosys. Okay. I may also look at Wipro, or I will say one more company, Mahindra Tech. Because these are the companies with whom I would compete. Essentially, what will I do? I will look at that, say Infosys has something like a 20% ECR ratio. Wipro has, say, about 22%. And Mahindra Tech has about 18%. Okay.
So, ma'am, how can we get this information from
How
competitors?
can I get it? I was just about to now. How can you get it? Typically, if you look at documents like what? Annual reports. Okay. If you look at the annual reports, it will give you both in terms of what? Wage cost, also revenues. When you have these data points, you can easily get the employee cost to revenue. Are you with me? Okay.
Yes,
Go
yes.
through the annual reports of these companies, and whenever you want, and you don't know from where to start with, you want a starting point for your own. Where do I base my compensation budget? How much do I need to take? Then you can actually look at this and say, hey, on an average, maybe then I will go for a 20 or a 22. It depends. Okay. It's a call you take. The other is one is the ECR method. The other is the incremental method, which all of you talked about. In the incremental method, what you talked about is, I'm looking at my previous wage cost. Right? This is called the incremental method. So this will be your basis. So let us actually look at this. Yeah. So for example, my last year's compensation pool, that is wage cost, is 200 million. Got it? What is it? 200 million. Now somebody said, no, ma'am, there will be an increase of business, new projects. So, so there has been an increase of 25% in the business. So if there's a 25% in the business, then what will I do? Likewise, the compensation pool also has to increase, right? So it will become 250 million. This is very clear. So this is my tentative budget of 250 million now. Now, can I just go and tell my boss, see, this is going to be, I have to show him line items, right? As rightly stated, I'll have to look at some of the line items which I need to consider. For example, what? Most importantly, next year, the government regulatory, like wage code will come. There will be some kind of, somewhere the PF or something. So there'll be an increase of, say, 10 million approximately. Okay. I will make what will be the approximate. Now, somebody also said in this group, for my new employees, because I have to bring about more competitiveness, so I may have to increase that grade structure and level of salaries, right? Okay. Then maybe for my new variable plan, because I want to attract and retain them, again, I will incur some amount, 10 million. Then again, these are all the line items depending on your own organization. You look at, say, for example, I have a set of supervisory people who need to be attracted. So again, I'm going to actually raise their salaries, maybe some amount. Likewise, if you see, then somebody said, I talked about percentage of annual hike on an average. I'm taking 4%. So again, I have budgeted some figure. Then maybe some internal equity grade shifts, I've added some amount. So again, external equity, then some DA inflation. So what am I doing? I'm looking at all the possible line factors and all the possible, increase of costs and putting a figure there. Got it? Now, if I add up all that, how much is it coming up to for me? 256. Now, but I have to be within what budget? Last year was 200. And then because the business is increasing, so 25%, so 250 million. I have to be within this budget. Your CEO is not going to budge if you say, hey, it has come up to 256. I have to give him a real. So I need to, again, go through all of them and say, where can I reduce? Can you reduce inflation, DA for workers, COLA? Very difficult. 1 million. You can't reduce anything.
Because it is solely affected on external.
Yeah. Pardon? Yeah. External equity, market corrections. Maybe I'll say, okay, I will do something like, 3.5, 0.5 million I will reduce. Then grade shift, essential competitiveness, I can't do anything. Otherwise, I'll lose my people. Average hike, 4%, I have said, okay, at best. But still, I will say, maybe 1 million, I will do something here. Huh? Then, where are the big things? Government, you can't do much. So maybe here, I will reduce here, saying that, okay, I have to reduce 250 and the final number is 256. So maybe 2 here, right? And again, 1 here maybe. So likewise, what will I do? I'll go through again some iterations and see where I can reduce and bring that number up to 250. But if I really can't, maybe then I'll say, okay, 251. But I'll have to substantiate my CEO saying that why I have increased my budget. Now, very often what happens when you have to do this, maybe then you'll also have to look at your own internal process in terms of automation, etc., where you can really reduce the number and then be able to pay much more for your unique positions. So that's how you do actually a compensation budgeting. so that you are looking at all your line items, looking at your previous wage costs and all the other costs which has happened. Because like, for example, like Arjun was mentioning about the benefit costs, which are very, very important, right? So some of the miscellaneous costs, then you will overlook them and say, okay, fine, maybe I can do away with them. So that's how you're going to balance the act. It's more like a balancing act, trying to prioritize which line items are very, very critical for you, and ensuring that it brings about both internal equity and also external competitiveness. And, to show you a little more, you actually look at all these things here I have written. Existing company, those are the broad things I said. You look at everything, new roles, then you will look at job family wise, what is the proposed salary after increment, how much will it cost really. I'll look at all that data. Then I will look at uh, what are the assumptions I'm taking. So all these things I will look at and then come about with that um, balancing of my compensation budgeting. Okay, guys. So ultimately, one last thing. What is very, very important? Effective communication. Is it important?
Very
Yes.
much.
Yes.
Huh? Guys, let me tell you, in most of the organizations, the HR people design and have best of plans, everything, but they do not communicate. Unless and until you will tell, hey, this is a great incentive plan, do skip level meetings, go and communicate through mails and through in-person communications, and motivate the people in terms of how they can make more money. Because many a times, let me tell you, the employees, we take it for granted that we have sent out a mail saying that this is the new plan, this is the new incentive, this is what it is. But that's not good enough, because people must have not read it, must have not known. And, the effectiveness of any incentive plan, the effectiveness of your entire communication, pay structures are dependent on how you communicate. Because it is not good enough to be very objective and very equitable, but it has to be perceived. What I'm talking about is perception. Though the employees have to perceive that, hey, the compensation structure is absolutely equitable. It is actually very competitive. So it has to be perceived with the people. And when will they get that? Only when you communicate and build that trust. So trust has to be instilled in them. So that's why there are very important things saying that, you have to deliver your message. What is in it for them? Use all the channels. And let me tell you, most important thing is communication. How you do it. And a lot of organizations who have been very, very successful in achieving their objectives are mainly because they focus a lot on the communication aspect. Okay, guys. So that is the end of the session on incentive plans. And well, that brings us to the closing of this entire compensation and benefits. And if you have any questions, I'm here. I'll just stop this. I can take them up. Any questions? And that doesn't mean that you can always write down and also reach out to me if you need any clarifications. Okay? Yeah.
Ma'am, in the
Somebody
compensation
raised the
budget.
point.
Hello?
Pardon?
Ma'am, this is
Yeah, I
Meghna
can.
here. In the compensation budget, you talked about the ECR method, the percentage, the ACR percentage. Is there any thumb rule or, what we can denote as a healthy percentage? Is there any
So
understanding in
how
that
will
way?
you derive? How will you derive a healthy note? Like, for example, ECR is what? Employee cost to revenue. Now, how will
Cost
you
to
know
revenue,
that?
right.
You only have to look at your competitors with whom you compete.
Competitors.
compete and look at their annual reports and then calculate the percentage. Because say, for example, there are 3 companies, A, B, C, with whom you compete. Got it? Now, A is 20%, B is 30% maybe, C is 25%. All right? So generally, if you are not within that range of 20 to 30%, your wage cost and your ECR cost is very high, then you will have to look inwardly as to what's happening, right?
Yeah. Okay.
No? You know that, no? The higher the wage cost, then the profits also come down. So you
Right,
need to
right.
look into it that where is my cost? Am I paying then people very high? Then let me benchmark and see where am I, at what percentile, what is it? Look at your then entire data. So you asked for a thumb rule. What is a thumb rule? You have to identify a list of companies with whom you are competing and look at their ECR ratio. Now, I can't, if I'm an IT company, I can't look at my ECR ratio comparing it with a manufacturing organization. I have to compare with some of the IT companies, both in size, scope, everything, and look at their ratios. Got it?
Yes.
Yeah, Meghna? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
There was one example which had come in the papers, ma'am. Just I would like to share. This was comparing Air India with Indigo,
Okay.
where they said
For what?
that
Comparing Air India with Indigo on what?
in
You
terms
said?
of cost, that is how they've
Okay.
done is how many people are required per aircraft for them.
Okay.
Air India was
Okay.
at a phenomenal 760 odd, and Indigo was making do with just less than 200 employees per aircraft.
Okay.
So what they were saying is they were looking at employee costs, where then Air India Tata's decided to then offer the golden handshake and offload people so that to reduce their wage costs.
Okay. Okay.
To that. It was in the papers recently.
Yeah. But let me also tell you. Okay. So just to add on to this. Okay.
Right.
Now, I may downsize people because I'm saying, hey, we are having too many people. But look at Indigo, how they perform. Right?
Right.
Have you noticed that all their processes, like for example, when you go to the airport, okay, now first of all, their what is it, costs are very low,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so what is that in it for me as a customer? Costs are low, punctual, on time, and availability anywhere, right? Now, how do they make it possible? Your boarding team, much before the flight comes, they ensure that everybody is right. Ready. Everything is done.
Yes.
And when you are there in the aircraft, when you are actually arriving, have you seen 15 or 20 minutes before everything is cleared, everything is done, so that you can actually alight? So what does it mean? They will ensure that your aircraft is not
Ready to fly.
remaining on the tarmac for a long time. Because
Correct.
you can make business only when you are flying. Not when you are there. So
Correct.
your time down, they are reducing that time. Have you noticed that the moment that the aircraft arrives, then the maintenance team comes and all the team, they work in such coordination, ensuring that everything is done, everything is being taken care of. Then within a particular time, the aircraft takes off.
Yes. So that's what
Getting me?
they had reduced. It was
Yeah.
a nice article they had given in the papers. The cost.
Absolutely. So we normally take an Indigo example, also like Southwest Airlines, when we explain their performance management or their teamwork. So how is their incentive plan? It is not individual. Some percentage, yes, but it's more depending on team awards. Because why? If you want the aircraft to be departing on time, it is not just one individual who will make it happen. It is an interdependence of the entire team, right?
Yes.
So everybody will say, hey, there are no free riders there. So everybody will pull in to ensure that the aircraft takes off, because that is the goal, on time. So the
Definitely.
guy, maintenance guy, everybody, they will clean up. So you have to create systems, processes. But if I say, hey, I want the organization to grow, and then all our team processes, but I'm actually rewarding individual incentives. You're creating competition there.
Yes, yes.
Okay, like for example, let me give you a very interesting example. Like in these insurance firms or partnership firms, when you are actually building an incentive plan for partners, saying that the amount of billing you are making, I will give you incentive, then within the partners itself, you are creating competition.
Right.
So therefore, you are ensuring, you're killing. Neither this partner goes or that partner grows. Okay. So you have to understand the nature of work and then accordingly design the incentive plan. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So I hope, yeah. So I hope now that you have got these concepts and some amount of work done, now you will be able to do all the assignments. Wilma will take over explaining to you what is that you need to do. But if in case you have any challenges in doing the assignment, feel free to approach, write in the WhatsApp, and I'm always there to assist you. Okay.